Hey, this is Antonio King, and today we're going to discuss David and the ransom money. If you like this type of teaching, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, leave me a comment, and also, you can share this. All right, let's get into the teaching. One of the greatest pictures of the Messiah in the Old Testament happens on Mount Moriah. It does. And I know most of us, when we think of Mount Moriah, we think of Abraham offering Isaac. And you're partly right, but I'm talking about David and the ransom money. Now, how do we get to David and the ransom money? Stick with me. So, on Mount Moriah, where David is, there's going to be three people. There's going to be David, Ornan the Jebusite, who owns all that land, and the angel of the Lord, angel of Jehovah. All three of them are on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. That's where Mount Moriah is. But how did we get here? So, if you look at 2 Samuel, the 24th chapter, or even 1 Chronicles, the 21st chapter, you have the account of David taking a census, feeling himself. And he takes a census of all the men that are of fighting age, 20 years and over. And he takes a census and he forgets to do one critical thing, and that's to take the ransom money. It's a half shekel for every man. David doesn't do that, and he angers God. God's not only angry, he's furious. Because sometimes we get to a point to where we think every battle is won because of us. And David forgets to take up the ransom money. And I know I've been teaching about Abraham, but you're going to see the same similarities. So David forgets to take up the ransom money. So God sends word to David through the prophet Gad to tell him that you're going to be punished. And David decides there's three punishments. David decides that he wants to be in the hands of God, and that's what happens. And God says you're going to have 3 days of pestilence, meaning disease, and that a lot of people are going to die. So for 3 days, the angel of Jehovah is out there slaughtering people. People are dying of disease because of David's sin, because he didn't take up that ransom money. So David feels so bad. He is so heartbroken that his sin has caused so much death that he goes to God and says, what can I do to stop this? And David is told by God and by the angel of the Lord to go sacrifice an offering, a burnt offering, on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. You got to do this to the Lord, to Jehovah. As David is going there, the angel of the Lord, the angel of Jehovah, is standing between earth and heaven on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. He's standing there with his sword. His sword is out. So David goes and he converses with Ornan the Jebusite, tells him what's going on. And Ornan says, you can have all of this. You can have all that I own. My livelihood, you can have all of it for the salvation of your people. And I know we don't look at it that way. We think that this guy was greedy because that's the way we've been taught, that he didn't know the Lord. He didn't know anything. He's some weird guy, and he didn't know the Lord because he didn't say the Lord was his God. Okay, you keep thinking that. This man offers everything he had, his livelihood, everything, for the salvation of people that weren't even his. He had his own kingdom. The name Ornan means Lord. In this one language, it means Lord or Master or even King. And he offers his kingdom for the salvation of another kingdom. Do you know what this is a picture of? And I know I've been teaching on Abraham and Melchizedek, this is also a picture of that. When David takes a census of the people, it's about his military prowess. And if you go back to Abraham and you look at him rescuing Lot, Melchizedek comes out and tells him, you didn't win this because of your strength. It wasn't by your power. Mm-hmm. It was because God put these people in your hands. It's by the Spirit of the Lord. It's not by might, not by power, but by his Spirit, says the Lord. Okay. The same thing applies to David. This is the second time you see this. And Ornan offers everything. He offers his oxen. He offers the grain. He offers the plows behind the oxen that are crushing the grain. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Ornan owns a threshing floor. This has to be around the time of the wheat harvest. And if you don't know anything about wheat harvest and all the first fruit things, that this is where this comes out at. But Ornan uses oxen to pull things behind it, so it will smash the grain, so you can get to the part that's useful. And the part that's not useful, you take a pitchfork and you throw it up in the air, and then the wind blows it away, blows all the trash away. Ornan offers his livelihood. He offers the inheritance of his sons, because his sons were there. They took off running because they saw the angel of the Lord. But Ornan wasn't scared. Now you got to understand, if Ornan was as bad as people say, and if he didn't know who God was, why would he offer anything for the salvation of people that have basically been trying to take over his land? Why would Ornan do this? Because Ornan is also a picture of the Messiah. In this picture, he's offering the oxen. If you don't know anything about the Hebrew letters, the letter Aleph, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, its symbol is an ox, and it represents God. So Ornan is offering his oxen. He's offering the grain. He's offering the wood for the altar. He's offering everything. So David could offer a sacrifice to God. He offers all of it in the hopes that God would spare David's people. David says, no, I can't take this thing for free. I've got to pay for it. Now, David's not doing something noble. He didn't take up the ransom money in the first place. So he's purchasing not only the oxen and all of that, but he's purchasing the land. And he's purchasing this so he can set up an altar, so he can sacrifice to God, so the plague could be done away with, so he can stop the plague. Now, remember, the place where Ornan the Jebusite owns, this place, is the same place that Abraham offered Isaac. It is. And remember, when Abraham offered Isaac there, the angel of the Lord was there too. And now, David has to offer a sacrifice to God to stop the plague. And remember, the angel of the Lord is standing between earth and heaven. He's not standing on the ground. He is hovering between earth and heaven. So you have two kingdoms. You have the kingdom of David, who has sinned. And the payment of sin has to be paid right now. Oh my goodness, I guarantee you didn't see this. And David has to purchase the salvation for his people. But you have Ornan the Jebusite who offers a free gift. So this is a picture of the Messiah because the Messiah has to come through the lineage of Shem, all the way through Abraham, all the way through David. And he's going to purchase the salvation. But he also has to be like the high priest, like Melchizedek. He has to offer this sacrifice freely. And that's what Melchizedek does back with Abraham. Remember when Melchizedek shows up, he offers bread and wine to Abraham. He offers salvation. And this wasn't, and the people that were being saved back with Melchizedek, the people that were being delivered, weren't just Hebrews. They were everybody. And right here on this mountain, at the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite, David is purchasing the salvation of his people. You've had 70,000 people to die already of sickness and disease for your sin. But now he has to offer these burnt offerings. And before David ever started with the offerings, Ornan the Jebusite says something that might surprise you. He says, "May the Lord accept you." I don't think you get what he says. Because if God doesn't accept your offering, remember, Ornan is the one that tells David how to please God. And for those of y'all who keep thinking that black people are cursed, that the darker the skin, the greater the sin, please read your Bible. You will find out all through Scripture, you'll see the descendants of Ham helping with the spread of the gospel. You will. Oh my goodness, you will. So what Ornan does, he on the threshing floor, he's called Ornan the Jebusite to tell you that he's from the lineage of Ham. And the original name of Jerusalem is Jebus, meaning to trample. And most people think it's some dirty place, or to try, but it only means to thresh wheat. That's what it actually means. This place has always been the threshing floor. It has always been the place of separation where God separates the wheat from the chaff. This is at this place where Abraham offers Isaac, and Isaac says, "Father, I see the fire and I've got the wood, but where's the sacrifice?" And Abraham tells his son, "The Lord himself will provide a sacrifice for us." That prophecy from Genesis is being reaffirmed at the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite, where David offers these oxen. The oxen represent God. It represents the priestly line of the Messiah. And what is a ransom? It's the payment for sin. It's to purchase the salvation, the freedom of those that have been shackled and bound. If you've ever paid attention to bank robberies or something like that, the first thing the negotiator wants to do is, we want to negotiate the release of the prisoners. You tell me what you want and I'll give it to you. Some of these guys ask for $1 million. They ask for a plane to Tahiti or to wherever. They just want to get out of there scot-free. They want to be able to steal from you and keep moving. But that's not what God does. Not on the same place. The ransom for your soul. This is for everybody, because the ransom money was a half shekel for every last person. A rich person couldn't give more and a poor person couldn't give less. That means everybody was on the same footing. in the eyesight of God. The ransom money, the thing that purchased your salvation, was the blood of the Messiah, the blood of Christ. Oh my goodness. That he was willing to purchase your salvation through his blood. His blood satisfied the, the requirement for sin. There's no sin too great that his blood can't cover. Oh my goodness. One of the greatest pictures of the Messiah was with David and the ransom money on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite.